Hello, everyone.
Hi. We're on page 349 of In Search of Christian Freedom, Ray Franz, chapter 11, the misuse of disfellowshipping. He's just been talking in the first couple of pages about grandmothers in their 70s being disfellowshipped, and of course we couldn't help but think of James and his definition of what true religion looks like. Taking care of widows and orphans, not making them. Ray goes on, there are hundreds, even thousands of similar cases today, evidence that they are not some anomaly or simply due to the narrow-mindedness of a few local elders can be seen from a letter written by the Watchtower Society's service department to a young man in the Northeast whose father had been disfellowshipped, the only charge against him being that he did not accept as scriptural certain teachings of the organization. The son wrote to the Brooklyn headquarters saying that his sister and her husband now had no association with his father, and he felt that this was disrespectful to his parents. The letter he received is here shown, his name and address being blocked out at the request for reasons of privacy.
So the letter
1983, by the way.
Yeah, is July 14, 1983. The letter reads, Dear brother, we have your letter in which you say that you are troubled by a problem that the elders seem unable to resolve. Your father has been disfellowshipped, and as a result of this, your sister and her husband do not have any association with your father. You seem to feel that this is disrespectful to your parents. It is most unfortunate to hear that your father has been disfellowshipped. His taking action that resulted in his being disfellowshipped has brought about a scriptural barrier between him and those loyal members of the family who continue to faithfully serve Jehovah. The loyal ones have not been the creators of the problem, but rather the one who is disfellowshipped has caused it. Therefore, it would not be appropriate on your part to find fault with your sister if she respectfully obeys the scriptural command at 1 Corinthians 5, verse 11.
And then the Watchtower letter continues, a person who is disfellowshipped has been spiritually cut off from the congregation. The former spiritual ties have been completely severed. This is true even with respect to relatives, including those within his immediate family circle. Thus, family members, while acknowledging family ties, will no longer have any spiritual fellowship with the disfellowshipped relative. While you and your sister may find it necessary from time to time to care for necessary family matters in regard to your parents, the direction at 1 Corinthians 5:11 would prohibit any association on a regular basis. We can appreciate that sentiment and family ties are particularly strong between parents and children, but in the final analysis, we will not benefit anyone or please God if we allow emotion to lead us into ignoring His wise counsel and guidance. We need to display our complete confidence in His perfect righteousness and ways, including His provision to disfellowship unrepentant wrongdoers. If we remain loyal to God and the congregation, the wrongdoer in time may take a lesson from that, repent, and be reinstated into the congregation. It is our hope that will be the case with your father. I think some of us are seething after reading that.
Yeah.
All of the hisses here, you know.
Yeah.
God is doing this to you.
Yeah.
And twice they've used 1 Corinthians 5, verse 11.
Yeah, which is the one about remove the wicked man from among yourselves. So his wickedness was he doesn't agree.
So this bold counsel, of course, there's no signature at the bottom. It's anonymous. Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Yeah.
At least Paul and the other apostles and prophets signed their
own
their bold pronouncements.
Yeah. So now Ray continues, thus conscientious disagreement with any position or teaching of the organization supposedly classes this man with the one described at 1 Corinthians 5:11 as a wicked man, categorized as on level with sexually immoral persons, greedy persons, extortioners, and idolaters. The responsibility for the family division is all placed on him.
Yet the undeniable fact is that in almost all such cases, the division results not from the personal conviction or feelings of the family members of the disfellowshipped or disassociated person, but solely because of the organizational policy laid out for them. This is obvious from the immediate change in attitude that witnesses worldwide made after the appearance of articles in the August 1, 1974 Watchtower, which greatly moderated the position taken regarding the attitude of family members toward a disfellowshipped relative. The information was received gratefully by witness families. Then, in 1981, the earlier harsh policy was reinstated. Disfellowshipped family members were again subject to great coldness, often totally cut off. But if today that policy were again officially moderated, most witnesses would unhesitatingly renew family ties, particularly in those cases where their only reason for rejecting a family member is that he or she is simply in a disfellowshipped state, and not because that one's present conduct causes them honestly to consider him or her as an evil or corrupting person. I cannot believe that Annette Stewart's family really believe their now 80-year-old grandmother to be such. And I think there is little question that in the great majority of cases, witnesses neither want to adopt the rigid position they now take, nor are they genuinely convinced of the rightness of it. It is something imposed upon them by the religious authority, and the responsibility for family division in all such cases rightly rests with that authority.
The emotional suffering produced is incalculable. In the case of one disfellowshipped woman in, can you say it?
Massachusetts.
Thank you. Her mother, living in Maine, became gravely ill and died in the mid-1980s. Though knowing this daughter's address, neither her witness family members nor the elders informed her of her mother's illness, her death, or the funeral. She first learned of it after her mother had already been buried. She stated that the torturing anguish resulting from being thus deprived of seeing her dying mother or of having any opportunity to express or attempt to express her love simply would not go away. How can any of this possibly be harmonized with the personality of a God of love and of His compassionate Son? Why should anyone feel drawn to a system contributing to such actions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who's the wicked one? Yeah.
What's wicked? Well, it's very plain what it is. If you just read 1 Corinthians 5:11, it's about obviously immoral people. People who are breaking God's commandments, not people who are committed to God but disagree with you.
Mm.
So we want to link here two videos we've done on Paul's policy in regards to people who disagreed with him. We said in a recent video that all you have to do is read the 2 Corinthian epistles, and you know that Paul wasn't advocating disfellowshipping people who even disagreed with him, an apostle.
Yeah. You know, the suffering that he's talking about, part of the anguish, I think, that comes to disfellowship people is because the Watchtower changes its mind. But it doesn't inform disfellowship people. Your relatives will now not talk to you. There's this yo-yo stuff going on all the time, and now they'll talk to you, now they won't. But nobody explains to you what's happened. They just change the policy and everyone falls in line.
So we want to link the Paul video. Did Paul break off fellowship with people who disagreed with him or with whom he disagreed in terms of basic doctrine? For instance, his fellow Jews. And that's a big surprise if you just look at the New Testament closely. The apostles and the other Christians went right on worshiping with Jews who didn't believe in Jesus. So where's the line? Well, it's obviously in the Watchtower playbook. And then another video we want to link here is the one on 1 Corinthians 5:11 explicitly. It's called Sex, that is S-E-X, and Sects, S-E-C-T-S, in Corinth. And next time, the subhead is Inflexible Enforcement of Organizational Law.